it's time for some outrageous predictions. Ohio State closing out its regular season once again with Michigan. Only unlike the last 2 years where it's been undefeated against undefeated for a chance in the Big Ten championship game, it's 10-1 against 6-5 for a spot in the Big Ten championship game. I'm Steven, that's Andrew, and that's Stefan. Stefan, get weird, get crazy, get loud, get outrageous with your predictions.
I think Jack Sawyer is going to have 3+ sacks in this game. It's felt like we've talked about it so much, on the podcast and just throughout the season of he's getting pressure. He's getting into the backfield. It's just a matter of finishing some of these sacks that he's had, kind of potential for. And I think this is the game where he gets it done. And we talked about this before we came on camera. How much is Michigan going to throw the ball? Like you said, if they're down big, they're going to have to throw the ball. And I think that's going to present some opportunities for Jack Sawyer to get into the backfield and create some havoc. He is a guy that maybe more than anyone who he's spoken to, since the Indiana game about the Michigan game, he wears the emotions on his sleeves maybe more than anyone, on this team. Not just because of the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry, but he is a Columbus kid who, in high school didn't win his rivalry games and has come here and hasn't won his rivalry games. This has taken a toll on him. It's pretty evident. And I think he wants to respond and kind of show everyone, like, all right, like, not only is Ohio State going to win this game, but I'm going to be a huge part of winning this game. So I think he has – I don't want to call it a breakout game since we've seen him have big games in the past, right? You probably point more so to the Missouri game as maybe the breakout game. This is maybe more of a statement game of, like, hey, I've been criticized more than most players on the defensive line this year. I've had chances I haven't taken advantage. This is when you do on the biggest stage, in the biggest game, you come through and – you make up for a lot of what these past 3 years have been, how tough they've been. He's got a chance to really make a statement, I think, and say, all right, we're in this game, and I'm going to be a big part of it.
He's also more connected to Ryan Day than any other player. He's literally his first commitment. Literally. He was the first player to commit to the Ryan Day era of Ohio State football. So what more better fitting way than the Columbus kid flipping the rivalry back on its head? Andrew, can you beat that? Can you get crazier?
So we just talked to Emeka Egbuka. We're here on Tuesday, and one of the things that Emeka said when asked about Will Howard was, we've seen kind of those moments that are maybe a little bit less publicized where he does kind of show you that swagger, where he does kind of show you that confidence. We saw it on national television last week where he pretended to put the cigarette out for Curt Cignetti, for Indiana's coach, said, Google that. Like, we've seen some of this, right? After the first down against Penn State to steal it, there was no grand celebration. I believe he did Drew Aller's celebration, which was
kind of. Everybody else does that too.
And then he gets up, fired up, he's screaming, he's yelling at the sideline, gives a huge first down, waving his arms, going nuts. I think Will Howard this weekend is going to feel that. I think Ohio State, check out our game scores. I think Ohio State is going to roll in this one. I think Will Howard is going to score late. Something put him up 3-4 touchdowns. And I think Will Howard, as the crowd is going crazy, is going to hit the Heisman pose. We've talked about...
Is that a prediction or just a dream?
It's an outrageous prediction. I think that's going to happen because I think what's going to happen is Ohio State is going to say, you know what, we need to get Will Howard a touchdown in this game. We've talked about Will Howard's Heisman chances. Hey, does Ohio State, do they need to beat Oregon? Is it down to Gabriel and Howard? I think it starts on Saturday. I think Howard is going to be feeling himself. I think he's going to know exactly what this Michigan game means to so many different people. And I think he's going to hit the Heisman pose on Michigan, which, again, that thing for Ohio State fans has long lived in their minds for Desmond Howard. I think Will Howard is going to do it on Saturday to Michigan when that game gets out of reach.
Will Howard, if you're watching this video, you have a chance to either prove to us that you really like Andrew and you want to prove him right, or that you really hate him and you don't want to do that.
Or you just don't watch this video at all. That too. So Jeremiah Smith has had 300-yard games this season, and outside of 2 games, he's had at least 70 yards in every single game. Can anybody guess the 2 games he had less than 70 yards in?
It was one of them Purdue?
No. You get a guess now, Andrew.
Nebraska?
Wrong. They're Indiana and Penn State. And that's not because he's not showing up in the top 5 matchups. It's because those top 5 teams have decided, yeah, that kid's really good, so how about we not let him be the guy to catch the ball? Now, granted, he dropped a touchdown catch against Penn State as well. He had 34 yards against Indiana, 55 yards against Penn State. He has not had I'm Jeremiah Smith, and I'm taking over now. He hasn't had that game yet, and we did a pod a couple of weeks ago just trying to break down the best individual seasons by wide receivers during the Ryan Day Ohio State era, and I think that was where the separation was between him and maybe Marvin Harrison seasons, where you can point to games where it's like, where are the games that they won because Marvin Harrison Jr. was on their team, not the other team? Marvin has multiple games like that. Heck, they even have a loss where if he doesn't get knocked out of the Georgia game, maybe they win that game as well. He doesn't have that. He has just been consistently good all year. All reliable. High floor, even higher ceiling. We've also seen Ohio State freshman wide receivers take over the Michigan game. Chris Olave did it in 2018. Garrett Wilson did it in 2019. I think Jeremiah Smith is going to have his Jeremiah Smith game on Saturday. 150 yards, at least 8 catches, 3 touchdown catches for Jeremiah Smith. As a matter of fact, no,
Is he going to hit the Heisman post?
I'm going to alter that. 3 touchdowns total. I'll open it because they've been using him in some jet sweeps and stuff like that. It's time for the Jeremiah Smith game. It's time for the I'm better than everybody else on the field, and this is why we won that game. And now there's going to be a lot of reasons why Ohio State maybe wins this game, but I think it's time. It's time for him to have his moment in the sun as a guy who essentially has always lived in the sun, but his shiniest moment, what's the Jeremiah Smith game? Well, it was his first Michigan game when he came here and he flipped the rivalry back on his head because Michigan had no answer for him because their answer is currently getting ready for the NFL or dealing with an injury. We're not sure what's going on with Will Johnson, but he's not expected to play. So that opens the door for this to happen. Those are our outrageous predictions. Get the text 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Ohio State, Michigan, Stefan, Andrew, Steven will all be there. See you after the game.